What's going on, everyone? So, reports have came in per Woj that the Los Angeles Lakers are in talks with the Atlanta Hawks for Dejounte Murray. It is believed that there is a path for the Lakers to get Dejounte Murray. It very well may take Austin Reaves. The Atlanta Hawks really want Austin. The Lakers really need some athleticism out on the point guard position, or just the guard position, period. And Dejounte Murray would be an interesting piece, right? I do have my concerns. I do have my questions that I have expressed. I'm not saying that Dejounte Murray wouldn't work with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but there are concerns with him off ball, right? Like, that's his big problem in Atlanta. Also defensively, right? Can he get back to being that all defensive type point guard? Or is he going to be the defensive guy we've seen on Atlanta, which has been worse than Austin Reaves and Taurean Prince and various other guys on the Lakers? If he can kind of get back to form, then that would be great. Now, the Lakers want to play with a faster pace, right? They want to kind of push the tempo, and they would need a guard like Dejounte Murray to do so. Right now, pretty much all they have is LeBron James to do that. One of the bright sides of Russell Westbrook and the previous, year and a half or whatever he was with the Lakers, was that the Lakers were up there in pace. They were able to generate a ton of offense. They were up there offensively because they were able to just get out in transition. They're struggling to do so right now, but a guy like Dejounte Murray could do that. Problem is, there are concerns with Dejounte Murray finishing around the rim. It's been a big question of his whole career. And then his three-point shooting. Right now, he's shooting great, shooting 38% from three, but we know how it goes when guys come to the Lakers, right? Their three-point shot almost becomes non-existent. So what's more likely? He's going to continue to be 38% or he's going to be 34%. Now, ideally, he comes to the Lakers, he locks in, he's focused, he plays both sides of the basketball, which would give us a great athletic point of attack defender at the guard position. He can chip in and give us, 25 and 5. That would be perfect, right? That's what we need, and continue to shoot 38% from three. And look, I'm not saying that he's never going to have the ball in his hands, but there are concerns with alongside LeBron James. There are going to be more times than not where you aren't going to have the ball in your hands and you're going to have to play off ball. Is he going to be able to kind of function with the Lakers in that regard? So it's kind of looking at this point like Dejounte Murray is the direction in which the Lakers are looking, but Zach Lavine is a guy that has been rumored and linked to the Lakers for like 2 months now, right? Chicago is looking to unload him. The relationship is done, right? I know Chicago is looking good and winning games. I've seen a lot of people bring to my attention like, hey, is it possible that they'll keep Zach Lavine? Now, of course, all things are possible, right? If they don't find a trade that makes sense for them or that they don't like, then could they keep him? Sure. But it's more so than just his play. Like, there's no doubt he's a good player, but him and the head coach don't get along. There were reports dating back to last year that him and DeMar DeRozan don't get along. He's not seen eye to eye with the front office. Both sides really want to part ways. So there's a limited pool of teams that are interested in Zach Lavine. Me personally, I am team Zach Lavine over Dejounte Murray just because I think Zach Lavine, there isn't really a question about his fit, right? He provides some athleticism out on the perimeter. He's an elite scorer. He's a guy that can play off ball, shoots 45% from three on catch and shoot. He's a guy that can make some plays. He's not like a point guard by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, you go look at the other day, right? He had that game where he had 25 points. He had 13 rebounds and 7 assists. He's a guy that can do other things besides score the basketball. He's got athleticism, apply rim pressure, right? Can just create offense, which is a real problem for the Lakers. Also, again, get out in transition. Now, there are questions about his defense, but for his career, he's been better than league average defensively. It's been a 114 defensive rating. He has had very good years in which he's been excellent defensively. So again, if he could be locked in, focused, and prepared, then I could definitely see him making sense for the Lakers. Problem is just the salary. Now, my thing about his salary, if it works, it's irrelevant, right? Because if it works, then you're fine, right? The Lakers already have cap issues. It's not like next season they're going to have a bunch of cap space or anything like that. Their team is basically locked up for the next 3 to 4 years, regardless of what the Lakers do. At that point, it's just like the taxes and restrictions based on where they are as far as the aprons go and stuff like that. But again, the Lakers are basically there anyway, right? So go get Zach Lavine, go make it happen. However, it looks like the Lakers may be positioning to get both. Now, is this likely? Probably not, but it's not that unlikely. So the Lakers can absolutely get to Dejounte Murray and Zach Lavine. They would essentially have to trade most of their roster, right? They would have to trade Austin Reaves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and then whatever other little like pieces that go into it. But they basically would have to trade all their core guys right now. Luckily, Dejounte Murray, he's only making like 17.5, 18 million. So you could do D'Lo straight up for him. Obviously, I don't think that that's going to happen. But if the Lakers can really acquire Zach Lavine without giving up a first, or say they could give up a first and they could get Dejounte Murray for Austin Reaves, because right now Atlanta seems to be determined to try to get Austin Reaves to pair with Trae Young in the backcourt. So if you could use Austin Reaves, you can basically, with Austin Reaves by himself, you could throw in like a Jackson Hayes and like, I don't know, Jalen Hood-Schifino or something, and just go get Dejounte Murray. And then on the other side, you could basically do Rui, D'Lo, and Gabe Vincent to go get Zach Lavine. Now, obviously, the variables would matter, right? But based on the reports, Atlanta looks like they may be willing to give up other incentives to make a trade work if they can acquire Austin Reaves. So could you get like that Sacramento pick, right? Now, if you could get that Sacramento pick, then you could go and do like Austin Reaves and whatever filler to Atlanta. Then on top of that, go get Zach Lavine. Again, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's not impossible. Or maybe Atlanta has somebody that the Chicago Bulls would be interested in. Maybe Chicago would be interested in like a Sadiq Bey, right? And maybe you can kind of entice them with that. Like, hey, we'll give you a Rui, give you whatever. Maybe the Lavine part of it maybe is a 3-team deal. Or maybe you're doing a 3-team deal with all this. There's a way to get there if all parties involved really want to make it happen, right? Again, I do think it's a bit of a stretch, but impossible. Another thing is I do have concerns about Dejounte Murray, Zach Lavine, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Now, on paper, that roster is unfair. Right? You think what Dejounte Murray can do on both sides of the basketball, again, if he can return to form, Zach Lavine and his ability to just be a vacuum scorer and just elite. And then you could pair him with like a Jared Vanderbilt, right? Because at that point, between Dejounte Murray, Zach Lavine, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, you have more than enough offense. Right? So you go put Jared Vanderbilt in that starting lineup, and now you're cooking. Right? But you got to also keep in mind there's only one basketball. And it would take a lot of sacrificing from all four. Zach Lavine would basically have to solely be off ball 90% of the time. Now, there will be moments and stretches where he can just go crazy. But for the most part, he's basically going to have to play off ball heavily. Dejounte Murray would have to be totally okay with just cutting down on his scoring and basically be a two-way playmaker. He would have to kind of embrace that playmaking role. Now, I'm not saying Dejounte Murray can't go get 15 or, maybe 13 or whatever, but him being, a 23 point a game guy, 20 to 23 point a game guy, very likely is out the window. Zach Lavine probably would be just like I said, your vacuum scorer. He'd be a guy that would go and give you probably another 15 to 20. LeBron, I think, would chip in timely. And then Anthony Davis, I think, would still be your number one option. Theoretically, it could work. If we didn't have LeBron James, to me, this would be a home run. Like, Dejounte Murray, Zach Lavine, and Anthony Davis sounds like that could be tough, right? And then, again, have like a Jared Vanderbilt for defense purpose, stuff like that. But my concern is just like, LeBron's still going to need and want the ball in his hands heavily. He has been more willing to let everyone else cook and just kind of pick and choose his spots and kind of get his points sporadically. But, again, it's just, he's still LeBron James, right? So there would have to be a big sacrifice. Now, obviously, people would have concern about depth. But I think you'd still be fine, right? So you'd have Zach Lavine, Dejounte Murray, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Jared Vanderbilt. There's 5 right there. You'd still have Cam Reddish. You'd still have Christian Wood, right? You'd still have Mays, right? Skylar Mays looked very good. You could still fill out the roster with other guys in buyout market or bring in for a trade, right? What about a big man? Well, you could go get somebody, bring in like a Myers Leonard, whatever. So I think you'd be fine depth-wise. You'd still be like 8 to 9 guys deep, right? It also just depends on what the other pieces are, right? Can you keep Taurean Prince? If you keep Taurean Prince, well, then now you got him. Can you keep Max Christie? Now you'd have him. But bare minimum, you would have, outside of like the big 4, let's say the starting 5 counting Jared Vanderbilt. Bare minimum, you would have Cam Reddish, Christian Wood. So there's your, 6th, 7th guy. And then, like I said, you keep Skylar Mays. So there's 8. And then again, it's just whatever other pieces you keep. If you keep Prince, well, then there's 9. Can you keep, Max Christie? There's 10, right? I would imagine one of those 2 probably go out. But again, you can make it work. If the Lakers did this, I would be excited. I would be pumped. I will be talking major smack. Believe me, I will be talking major smack. But I would have my concerns about fit. Again, I'm not saying that this will happen, but you have 2 conflicting reports circulating right now. Although the Dejounte Murray one is coming from Woj, so I trust that more, right? And it could just be they're trying to figure out which one gets done first, right? That could be a real possibility, right? They get Zach Lavine first, okay, then we'll just go with Zach Lavine. They get Dejounte Murray first, then they just get Dejounte Murray. But my thing is like if they can land both, I could see the Lakers trying to get both. Right? Look at all the top teams in the league right now. All of them are pretty thin. Outside of like the top like 4 or 5 guys, they're pretty thin. They got maybe that 6th guy. Like even Boston. Boston's basically a starting 5, and then they got like Al Horford, but like all their other depth is kind of questionable at times. Get the talent, figure it out. Right? Even if you don't win it this year, you'd have the rest of this season, a full training camp, full off season, and you could get off to the races. Right? You have, with Dejounte Murray, Zach Lavine, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, you have enough talent to go win a championship. But are you a little too behind the 8 ball already is the concern. But I don't know. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? If you could get both of them, would you? Do you think, no, just go get one? Again, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below.